Well, we've got something quite special for you today. Day 3, which we have nicknamed the Beast 2, as it is a lot of miles and a lot of fun. We are with Iveco here. We've got 2 fierce competitors to put this van through its paces. George, what's behind us?
This is the magnificent looking E-Daily. It's got the EPTO on it. We've brought this here and set up this little demonstration so people can understand that this vehicle can not only drive itself with electric batteries, but it can also do a range of different tasks. Today we're cutting wood. Well, that's just the very smallest angle of what this can do. This can be used to power fridge conversion, it can be used to power firefighting equipment. The sky's the limit.
Something that's not small. Adam Bishop, fantastic to meet you. Twice British Strongest Man champion. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you. Really excited to be back with the E-Daily again.
So you are an Iveco brand ambassador. What does that entail for you, and do you think you can win?
So it's fantastic. I get to come and do stuff like this. A little challenge, you know. It's kind of manpower versus van power today. I know the E-Daily, after setting the world record in the heaviest pull, is a tough competitor, but I'm going to give it all my all and try and beat the old girl.
These guys know what to do. So if you would like to get ready for what will be a fierce competition, I will get out of the way. On your marks. Get set. And go! A little bit of a head start there. Oh no! I can see that you really did get quite far through, but it was the power of the Iveco E-Daily that won. How'd you feel?
Elated. I don't think I've won anything since Sports Day, and that was a wooden spoon, so this is probably my highest achievement.
Very good. And how about you? Shoulder rotation all right?
I gave it my best, but I'm no match for a power saw. That's probably why they were invented in the first place.
And there we have it, the power and might of this wonderful vehicle here on the EV Rally A to Z 2024. Thank you both for your competition. Thank you.
Not sure that was a fair competition there, to be honest.
No, I was about to say that. The girth of said lot was significantly different.
You went there, Sam. I didn't.
I can't believe anybody said girth on our webinar. Ew.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EV Cafe. I'm Johnny Berry, your host, and I'm also the head of decarbonisation at Navuna Vehicle Solutions. And I'm thrilled to join you live today as we explore the crucial topic, which is innovation in the EV sector and how it drives the future of mobility. Now then, innovation is the lifeblood of any business. You fail to innovate and you won't last long. And today we have 3 innovative speakers who will share their insights on how they are driving change and fostering innovation within their respective fields. Joining us from the EV Cafe team, you already know them. They are experts in their respective fields. They are Sarah Sloman from PayThrough, distinguished for her expertise in evolving payment technologies that facilitate easier and more effective EV adoption. And she's also held up in hospital today. Sarah, we've got a lot of people asking questions. What's happened to Sarah? Paul Barnfather has asked.
Oh, poor you. Yes, don't let it put you off, but I was riding my bike and got skimmed by a car, and the next thing I remember was being fished out of a ditch. It's not great. Yeah, it's a double
Not
break.
for the
And
first time.
just the amount of times I've been over the bars or been knocked off my bike, but this one was a bad one. So I'm here in the wonderful hospital, and if somebody calls me, I shall be making a swift exit. But yes, I just couldn't miss it. Couldn't miss being here.
You've been an absolute warrior this week, Sarah.
Thank you, John.
Standing up in front of the EV Summit and doing an amazing job considering the circumstances. So well done to you.
Very kind.
Next up is John Curtis, dedicated to channeling your questions into our discussion, bridging audience curiosity with expert insight. So he'll be managing the mailbox. And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
Sam Clark from GridServe. He brings us the latest developments in public infrastructure for electric cars, vans, and trucks, and shall I even say bikes as well? Sam. And I'm not going to introduce Paul because he's not here. He's nowhere to be seen. He's got AMOC, so we'll just skip past that, shall we? And we're also delighted to welcome our guest speakers today. They are, of course, our very own Sarah Sloman. She'll be sharing her perspectives on payment innovations. But we're also going to be joined today by Gareth Livingstone, MD of Stuart Signs Limited, known for their innovative approach to fleet branding and safety. Not yet, Gareth. You have to come back later.
Speak too soon.
And John Fairley, MD of AW Renewables Limited, recently featured on the EV Rally as well to discuss renewable energy integration into EV infrastructure. But before we get on with the show and Gareth jumps on, I'd like for us to express our heartfelt thanks to our gold sponsors. They are the AA, Europcar, Iveco, Hayfru, Webfleet, and Zaptec. I think I've got that right. Thank you very much. Your unwavering support is crucial in making these vital conversations happen. So a very, very big thank you and a round of applause to those guys who support the EV Cafe. Now, if you have any questions or you would like to contribute in today's conversation, then please do join us via the Zoom link. It is posted on the EV Cafe LinkedIn page, and there he is. Here he is. He's made it, just in the nick of time.
Time 6 minutes late.
I'm 6 minutes late, and I'm embarrassed. We will talk about it later.
No, I didn't
Talk
see
about it now. Now.
I was on the phone and I lost track of time. I've been embedded in doing stuff, and there's no excuse. I've just been a donkey. What can I say?
Right, we're gonna dive into the topic of innovation now, Paul, and I'm going to start straight up with you. Okay. So again, as always, you have 40 seconds to answer.
Okay.
So it is suitable for short form content on YouTube. So you ready, Paul?
Yeah, always ready, mate. Always ready.
Paul.
Except at 12 o'clock. Neil Durno says senior moment. Yabba dabba doo.
Something like that. There you go.
Paul, as someone who focuses on commercial fleets, how can innovative solutions optimize fleet operations, particularly when it comes to managing logistics and maximizing vehicle uptime?
Maximizing vehicle uptime is the most important thing. And we need data that comes from vehicles. We need vehicles to be more connected. We need them to communicate about charging. We need to communicate about driver behavior. We need all of that sort of stuff. And commercial vehicles, vehicles are worth like 750 more pounds a day to those businesses in terms of revenue. If those vehicles are not, wheels are not turning, the vehicle's not earning. So that is the importance of data in commercial vehicles and innovation, of course.
Thank you very much, Paul. I don't know how you did. I don't know if anyone recorded the time there, but it felt like it was within 40 seconds.
Spot on. It was like 35 seconds.
Oh, really?
There you go.
Well, 6 minutes and 35 seconds.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. John, you're up next.
I take my medicine. What can I say?
John, from a hearts
Yes.
and minds perspective, what are the main concerns our audience has about adopting innovative technologies in their fleets? And how can these innovations help address these concerns to foster a smoother EV transition?
Tell you what, AI's been busy in creating these questions. Hearts and minds is an easy thing. What we'd like to believe is that authoritative figures tell us the truth. They don't. So the media tell us things about electric vehicles, innovation that is full of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the only way that you can find out whether something is right or not is to experience it with your own person. Get your bum into the seat of an electric vehicle. Try an innovation. Be an early adopter. Take a risk. What's the worst that can happen? And only by having your own personal experience will you overcome that fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Very wise words there, John. Next up, I'm going to go to Sarah.
Oh, no.
And go back to my ChatGPT question. So you ready?
Yeah.
Sarah, payment solutions are evolving rapidly. How are these advancements making it easier for commercial fleet drivers to adopt EV technology? And what role does innovation play in this evolution?
Payment should be a non-event, something that's so easy and seamless that people can appreciate the rest of their journey and their charging session. It shouldn't be the main feature of concern. So innovations that are coming forward will see more seamless and easy to use transactions and traceability for VAT reconciliation to make a fleet's life easier and more profitable.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah.
And
Superb.
everybody in the waiting room had to put up with that. I'll go back on.
You
Should
tell
we
by
just
the
go
tone
to
of
you
your
for
voice.
questions today,
It's
Sarah?
just very quiet today. Very quiet.
It comes across loud, Daisy. You're all right.
Last but not least, Sam. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, these are so wordy, these questions.
You wrote them. That's why you know you didn't,
No, I
did you?
didn't write them. Right, okay. Sam, public infrastructure is a critical component of the EV ecosystem. How can you share how current innovations in public charging infrastructure are supporting the needs of commercial fleets, and what roles these innovations play in integrating these solutions?
Yeah, that's a 40-minute answer, not a 40-second answer. But I think innovation is going to be critical. And I have the privilege of working in a business that is constantly pioneering new innovative things that are coming out in the future. So it's all very, very exciting stuff. And I think the innovation for me is key. And we've got to make sure that on forums like this, we talk about the new things that are happening, not go over the same stuff that we're already doing. So yeah, innovation for me is critically new ideas that we're implementing in a commercial viable way into the market.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sam. And I'd just like to add my comment around innovation in this sector. And I think that actually it's not necessarily innovation, but I think that we should all play our part in the ecosystem and all adopt the interoperability communications and standardize those, because that interconnectivity of across the ecosystem is only going to support the EV transition. It means that I can find that charge point from my third-party app. It means I can authenticate at the vehicle, perhaps a vehicle level, and I can collect all that important data to inform the operations there, Paul. Anyway, moving on with the show. We're actually on time. That's not something Paul can say today, but it's now time to welcome our first guest speaker for today. But before we do that, JC, you've got a VT to roll.
Systems like this are going to make it better for everyone.
We are here at the bright green launch of their contactless kiosk for EV charging. This is a very exciting day. This is the first time we've seen one of these in the wild.
So the government now have legislated saying that we need contactless payment, we need to make sure that the systems are reliable and we've got good uptime, and the whole system needs to be easier to use and better for the end consumer.
Okay. So the three things that we're solving are legislation compliance, customer experience, and also making the whole ecosystem more profitable.
So who's the product great for?
Car park owners, hotel chains, charge point installers, airports, hospitals, museums, cinemas, leisure centres.
Systems like this are going to make it better for everyone. It's also going to make it better for end users because everybody wants a nice, easy to use solution. And this is all about making stuff easy to use.
The EV market is growing massively. At the same time, it needs help. So there's a lot of things that can be improved. Right now, the focus is on installing as many chargers as possible, and why we exist is to make the customer experience amazing and fun. We hope that we can help the market grow faster and better.
Our role here today as Paythrough is to provide the integrated payments experience for bright blue and bright greens all-in-one solutions.
This is what happens when a software company makes hardware. They have gone beyond compliance. This is about making a great consumer experience. Train stations, bus stations, plane stations, co-working spaces, offices, local councils, health centres, and of course, the whole point is it makes the experience better for the drivers.
So who's our guest speaker, Sam? Over to you.
Who might that be, I wonder? Well, yes, of course, it is the wonderful Sarah Sloman. I can't even say her name right. Who needs no introduction, really. Firstly, because she's a co-host on the show anyway, and secondly, because I haven't written one. So there is no introduction. But I'll let you do it yourself, Sass, of course. But what I will say, and just to reiterate what Johnny and the guys mentioned before, is you have been absolutely unbelievable this week in terms of doing all your obligations, despite being quite literally broken in two places. So, well done to you for all of your efforts at the EV Summit, for being here whilst being in hospital,
It just goes to show your tenacity and stupidity, frankly. But then I would be no different.
Get a room, get a room.
So well done, and I will pass over to you.
Thank you, everyone. And I think the takeaway for me is just the importance of talking about this subject more and more. There's a QR code next to me, which I'll just try and move out of the way. There you go. In fact, someone try that for me whilst I'm chatting would be excellent. Thank you. So this is a link to a new white paper. Now, we've learned at PayThrough that if you don't share your experiences, then you won't be able to inform policy or help people rolling out this infrastructure to make good decisions. So this takes you through. Thank you, Paul. We had lots of people contribute, 200 drivers. Thank you for sharing the link far and wide. Paul, you're quoted in there. Gary, thank you, you're quoted too. And the importance was just saying that it's not just us saying this. This is why our business exists, is because there's a huge problem with making payment easier for EV charging. It's the absolute lifeblood of the industry. If you can't start the charger because the payment won't work, how are you supposed to get your return on investment ever? So it's about finding as many simplistic pieces of technology that already exist and find a way to make that more seamless for the driver. So what the white paper does is it takes you through a series of problems that we've uncovered, including 83% of people we asked do not like downloading apps. They would far rather pay by card and have opportunity for an automatic receipt. And something we covered at the EV Summit just this last week was that there's technology in the payments sector, so sort of payment facilitation sector, which will hopefully see an automatic release of some of the important data that you need, like automated receipts via email if you use that particular card without having to go back to your desk to register on a website to give you the last 4 digits of your card, or making sure there's an affiliated email address with that card. It should be automatic. So if there's anything that you can think of in your experience, then please let us know. A lot of CPOs now are reporting over 80% of their transactions going through contactless credit card. And that's probably representative of the fact that most of the EV drivers are private drivers and don't necessarily need that additional functionality. The biggest thing for me is downtime. If you're going to be faffing about at a charger and you can't get it to work with the card you've been given by your employer, as in you're an employed fleet driver and you have to use that card, you're never going to use that CPO ever again. And it's going to be time out of your day, your so-called scheduled lunch. I hear all too often, drivers get 45-minute break that make sure they charge during that time. Okay, well, as long as they can find a charger that works and accepts the payment that they want to use, then great. But every minute that goes by is a frustration for a driver. So without sort of taking up the rest of my 5-minute slot, and acutely aware that somebody might not tap on my good shoulder any second, I just would like to end there. But Johnny, you were present at the EV Summit, and thank you for watching my panel. I watched yours too. Were there any takeaways that you noted that I should have paid attention to as part of the summit regarding fleets and the ability to pay?
I think we talked a lot about perhaps getting access to public infrastructure, but as we know, for fleets, we require workplace sharing, domestic, and the whole ecosystem. So that was the bit that was probably not necessarily from the panel. We didn't have time to talk about that, I guess, on various panels, but that is a very real issue within particularly like commercial van fleet operators.
Yeah.
Not just a reconciliation point of view, but actually also a little bit more dynamic data coming back from the charger, so it can inform slightly more on the operations, like how long do I actually need to charge to prevent idle fees? If there's somebody already there, can I book it perhaps? All that sort of thing.
And a fascination for a preset. If somebody just wants 10 quid's worth of kilowatt hours, why is that not possible? You can totally do it for petrol, so why can we not do that? So there's even this morning we had an hours-long call trying to work out the technicality. Things are so much more complicated behind the scenes, but our job is to make them really simple and make that easy for our charge point operators to offer that to drivers. And interoperability and roaming, really pleased that REA, the Renewable Energy Association with Matthew Adams, has started an interoperability panel, as in an in-house advisory board, which PayThrough are proud to be part of alongside a lot of roaming partners in the European market. So lots more on this to come, but thank you for the support on the launch of this white paper. The last one was picked up by Broadsheets and policy developers. So I feel really good about this one, and well done to PayThrough for trying to put their head above the parapet and solve some problems. It's good. John, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think everybody should speak really quietly for the rest of the webinar. But also, I think what's really key here is that there's an awful lot of people agreeing in the comments with the outputs of the white paper. What is critical is that we, as people who understand this marketplace, come together as regularly as we can to keep saying those really simple things that we all know are right, but for some bizarre reason over time haven't emerged as the winning solutions. We had RFID cards and apps, and everybody thought they were marvelous because they wanted to retain ownership of the customer. And actually, making the customer the center of the transaction is the critical part, and making sure that they get a good experience will speed the transition and help people to have a pleasurable experience when they move to EV.
Yeah, thank you. It'll never cease to amaze me that people don't think it's an important part of the ecosystem, and they always put it right at the end. They choose their hardware, then they choose their back office, and then they ask the question, oh, by the way, how much a payment's going to cost me? And that's the correct sentence. How much a payment's going to cost me? People don't understand the way that those prices are structured within your kilowatt hour price. So there's a huge, I believe, sort of bit of a not particularly fair pricing going on out there, because there's not very many providers who are being open about what their costs actually are for processing that payment. So it's the first question you should ask of a CPMS is, who's your payment service provider, and what will I be charged as a result of using that payment service provider? Therefore, what do I have to add on to my kilowatt hour price? People aren't talking about that.
There's some brilliant questions coming in. Can I just say,
I can't see anything.
So the Q&A box, which is where at the bottom of the screen, there's a Q&A tab. And if you go in there, you can ask a question of the panel. So as we go through, the best question of the day, and I'll be the judge of this, there's no, refunds or rebates or anything. My decision is final. The best question gets the EV Cafe mug, much coveted. There's some crackers in there already.
Well, if there's some good stuff coming up in the comments and chat, if someone can save the chat towards the end, we might be able to pull out some good ones for our LinkedIn page and ask them there as well.
Absolutely.
You want to answer some questions? Yeah, I've got something to say. Shall I whisper? Go on,
Yeah, go on, Sam.
Speak up, because we can't hear you.
It's quite nice, though.
Yeah, I was just going to broaden this as well, just on the basis of innovation as well. I spent a very painful brain hour before this going through one of the things which Johnny alluded to at the beginning with commercial and EHV charging, and some of the mechanisms by which we're trying to make that more seamless in the future in public infrastructure. Payments and software, incredibly important to that journey. But we're also looking at things like ANPR cameras and bay monitoring and indication and displays, and setting your target state of charge, or displaying the state of charge for other users, or how we grid balance that with the car world versus the lorry world, or how we grid balance that for each charger and each dispenser on each island, and how we do auto pay, or we take MAC addresses, or we use auto charge, or we use all these different mechanisms. And there are, every single time I come up with this conversation within the technical team at GridServe, it opens up a Pandora's box of complexity. And all the solutions are there, but they're incredibly expensive and very complex to implement. And also, I forgot to add the usability on the front of the screens on the charger. You think that was easy to change things and make it more process driven? It isn't, because they've all got their own specific processes by which to do that, and would cost millions and millions of pounds to change that dev in order to create individual. And if you change hardware providers, you've changed your whole system. So that it is a wonderfully complex world that seems simple on the outside, but the second you lift up the bonnet, it's an absolute minefield of complexities. Exciting and interesting, but there's an awful lot to unpick. If anyone thinks it's easy, it ain't. Just to add a bit more colour to it.
Paul, you've got your hands up.
Well, JC had his hand up first, so I'm going to defer.
No, please. I've already spoken, Paul, so please do.
Oh, well, that's very kind. We're all very friendly on the EV Cafe today, even though I was so late. But anyway, Sam, it's a really important point, this complexity and cost piece, because it is already expensive. We already know that the cost of public charging is putting commercial fleets in particular off of moving to some of the solutions that are available in the vehicle world, because the cost of public charging is prohibitive. What is it that we can do to simplify the process without adding cost? I think that's where we've got to get to, right? Make the process simpler whilst reducing cost. How do we bring those two things together?
I don't know, while Sam's speaking, if I could just give you my quick sentence on that, is that
recording in progress.
Oh, the recording only just started.
No. Who forgot to press the button?
I just had to start it again for some reason. But we're streaming live on YouTube anyway, so we can grab it from there.
Oh, we can always watch it back there. That's
Yeah.
great. Just to say that things are often considered a cost when they probably should be an investment. We spent a lot of time this morning talking about underutilized charges, and if only they were easier to use, they'd probably have a better return. So there's at the moment very little data out there, about how many times people go to a charger, but it doesn't do what they need it to do. They can't get it to start, so they drive off. That doesn't exist. We need to find that out, and things like integrated ANPR can really reveal that. Yeah, sorry to butt in, Sam, just conscious of time.
Yeah, no worries. It's a difficult question to answer, Paul, as well. I mean, you've got very, very lumpy costs like grid connections or the hardware and the civil works for infrastructure build, and then there's of course the energy rate to which we buy and then sell on to customers are huge. Three major lumpy things that just spring to mind, let alone all this additionality of different innovations that people wish and need in order to make that system more seamless. So it's a much broader ecosystem of economics, I think, in terms of trying to get the price down. And the other thing which I just wanted to highlight, actually, because you reminded me of something Neil Riddell said on LinkedIn recently, which is a really pertinent point, is that people make the mistake of comparing 7.5 pence a kilowatt hour at home to 79 pence a kilowatt hour on a public network. They are not the same. You're comparing one thing with all of the infrastructure cost that's been built into that price in order to try and deliver something at a profitable level, and there is no profiteering going on with any CPO, I can assure you. But in the domestic world, you've got all the other component costs. You've got your distribution board, the hardware that you put in, the installation of that work, the standing charges, your mortgage, the fact you look after your own home, and all of the other costs associated with the ability to have that unit rate at home. So he's worked out there's roughly 30 pence a kilowatt hour to be added to whatever price you're paying for electricity, which then puts it in a more comparable marketplace in terms of public charging is still significantly more expensive. But we need to make those comparisons to make it fair.
I don't agree, and the reason I don't agree is because we're paying that anyway. Whether we had an electric car or a diesel car or whatever, or a charge point, you're paying all of that other stuff anyway. So you're paying an extra 7 pence, and you're paying an extra 79 pence.
Well, no, that's not how it works. But we'll debate that. We've got to move on.
Yeah. I get the comparison, but yeah. Moving on. Sam, over to the next guest speaker for today.
Damn it, you put me out. You do that every time. I think I'm ready. And then you cut me out. But it's Gareth, isn't it? It is Gareth. Yes. Okay, so Gareth, now you can put your camera on. I know you've been there like a coiled spring waiting to press the button again. Where is he? There he is.
Excitement of joining you all just took me over.
No worries. Right, so quick intro for you, Gareth. Gareth is the MD of Stuart Signs. He has been with Stuart Signs for just over 4 years, with 25 years experience in the branding industry. His aim is for every client, every partner, and every person that works at Stuart Signs to have the best possible experience and feel special, valued, and appreciated. And we appreciate you, Gareth. Maybe not your bowling skills, but everything else we appreciate. Right, fun fact. Gareth was set to be a professional footballer, but apparently had to retire due to injury, which I'm sure everyone can say. But, hey, well done anyway.
We needed you on Sunday, Gareth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm my best.
Anyway, welcome to the show, Gareth. Please do share some insights with us. It's great to have associated companies, if you like, or industries that are so very much intrinsically linked to ours, but it's nice to be able to stitch some of this stuff together. And I think you are a testament to that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And we've obviously been quite heavily involved with you all over recent months, especially, and the EV rally on a separate note has been a fantastic experience for the business and for everybody in the business as well. So we've very much enjoyed being a very small cog in the big wheel of making that hopefully a success for people, and working alongside like-minded businesses who want to try and at least do the best they possibly can, certainly when it comes to sustainability.
So what did you do for the EV Rally teams, Gareth? Tell us about that.
Well, for the ones who chose to use us, we supplied the livery on all of the vehicles, whether that was the cars or the vans, or even motorbikes as well.
Thank you. Yes.
We helped provide the graphics over several locations to make you all look beautiful as you went around the country.
But it was more than that, wasn't it? And this is the thing about Stuart Signs. It's not just any old plastic or PVC that's rammed onto your vehicle and just walked away from. You're very, very careful to weigh up the environmental impacts of the products you use, and you choose the right product for the right execution, for the right thing that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, sustainability is a consideration at every stage for us. So that starts with design. So the customer brief, we go into a design, it then goes into a production, then into application fitting, and then obviously removal as well. So, you know, we have as an industry been PVC based and still are predominantly. It's not the, you know, it's not the nicest of products, but it's, you know, it's what has been used over decades and decades within the industry. So there is an appetite for us all to move that forward and push forward. That starts with the manufacturers of the raw materials and comes right the way through to us as well, of how we're producing, making sure that we're doing everything we possibly can within that process to be as sustainable as we can. And then, yeah, choosing the materials that are best for the right product. And there has been massive developments in those products, you know, just in the last few years, really. You know, and they will continue to develop. You know, there's good
even down to the glue that you use. So, I mean, you're not using the same glue on all the wraps. It's quite incredible, the level of detail. And there's something else that one of your team was telling me about. I think it was Kirsty, who said that there's a tool now that you use to be able to work out where on a vehicle is most likely to get damaged, so that you avoid putting graphics in those spots, so that you reduce the cost and reduce the need to completely do the livery again. It's very clever stuff.
It is. Look, we advise, so you know, we ultimately deliver what the client wants us to deliver. So we give what is best to their needs. Some would say that using a full wrap on a vehicle can offer you know, considerable, I suppose you could put it in a way of protection to the vehicle. So residual values when it gets removed are much higher. So you are selling a vehicle or moving a vehicle on in after a 3-year lease that could add considerable amounts to residual values, or it could be more the upfront cost where we're using nesting software to, as you rightly put it, you know, eliminate some of the high damage impact areas. And that is recurring costs for the fleet managers to be having to replace those parts regularly. Vehicle off-road, time off the road, there's costs all associated. So it's just really, it comes down to the business, the fleet manager, the requirements, the usage of, certainly in the van fleet world and HGV fleet world, you know, what usage are they having and you know, what environment are they in that might impact the need for that. So
yeah, Sarah's got a question, but before I go on, Gareth, Nick Gerald from Drax, who you did their livery for the EV Rally, says, great job too. Brilliant service from the team. Can't say better than that. Those are people who put bums on seats and they've used your service. And Drax, they support what you do. Sarah, you got a question?
Yeah, I was talking to Kirsty, and I love that sort of composite cardboard element that you bring. And everybody on the rally, well, not everyone actually, maybe it's just us, select few, got like a welcome pack with, there you go, well done, thank you for showing that. That's the tip of the iceberg, the thin end of the wedge. I believe you can do all manner of shapes and sizes to bring people's displays to life at events. And am I right in thinking we're partnering up on the Carfest to do something cool for our tent? What's going on there?
Yeah, I think we're going to be creating like a more of a, am I allowed to say what it is?
I don't know. That's why I was gingerly sort of going.
Go on, let's do it. Let's do it.
It's a theme. I'll say a theme. You can say what it is. We're going to create a theme that.
Okay, go on then, John. Paul, are we allowed?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we're looking at and working on a concept is myth busting. So turning the myths around EVs into circus acts. So for instance, there's a myth that EVs catch fire. They just burst into flames. So we're looking at having a fire eater in our circus. Traditionally, there's a tightrope walker in a circus. walking the tightrope is very much like driving an EV when you don't know where you're going to charge, or you don't know how to use the software in your car or on your phone to find the right charging point. You're walking a tightrope. The strongest man, we heard from Adam Bishop earlier, Britain's strongest man twice. And the Iveco E-Daily will be that strongest van for the circus. And so we're building a circus for Saturday morning, which
That's
helps
so fun.
petrol heads to understand that moving to EV isn't a circus. It is very much facts over fear.
I like it too.
We've nominated
good.
Sam to eat the fire.
Easy.
I was going to say we could pour a bucket of water over Sam's head.
If I could be
Can't drive an
excused from the
electric car in
tightrope
the
walking.
I like Matthew Ling's idea about white elephants. What we've actually decided is that we may well be creating a mammoth from cardboard that is made from engines, so that we've actually got cardboard engine parts that make a mammoth, because we're moving away from using dinosaur juice and the diesel engine is dead and all that stuff. So
I wonder.
it's going to be bonkers, and we're going to do juggling, Sarah. That's going to be fun with you.
Oh,
can
great. That's
juggle.
going to be good, isn't it? I'll just chuck it around. But what I was wondering, imagine if you had, since people don't understand the component parts of an internal combustion engine vehicle versus an electric car, right? So imagine we could display with that composite cardboard material that you guys do, how many parts does this represent? And then see if people understand how the car works and where that sort of piece can come from, knowing that you don't have to have so many bits to go wrong.
We'd need a bucket of shredded cardboard to compare for the internal combustion engine complexity by comparison.
That's it. But you got to hand it to Stuart Sines. Like, honestly, since I got to know what you can do, it just brings to life your message. It's been superb. And Kirsty's such a good advocate, and you as well, Gareth. You're a great team.
She's fantastic. But yeah, no, look, the cardboard products, it's lightweight, so it uses less energy to get it to wherever it needs to be. It can go into the recycling schemes that are now available, so it's not just one use. It can go back into it can be more than one use, hopefully, but at least it's not just thrown into landfill. So is really where we're trying to go with the products that we offer. So yeah, that's where we're heading.
Right, I think it's time that we move on to the next guest speaker. Gareth, please don't go anywhere, because we will need you to come back on and answer some questions. But we are slightly behind on time. It's looking more like Paul Kirby's diary at the minute. So
Excellent.
So Sam, I'll just go over to you for the next introduction, please.
No worries. Unlike Paul, I'll try and keep it brief. Right, John Fairley. John is the managing director of the I don't know why I said that, of the Renewable Energy Division of Arnold White Group, responsible for development and operation of onshore wind, solar, EV charging, and geothermal projects. He spent his entire working career in the renewable sector, developing wind projects since the late 1990s. Having worked as a consultant on AW Group projects since 2014, he joined the company just over 2 years ago to work with the team and their development division to deliver net zero communities, directly wiring renewable energy generation to the end user. I love that, because Gritov does Sun to Wheel, which is very similar, and it's awesome. Fun fact, I'm not sure, John, how fun this is, but it is impressive. And when I read it, it reminded me of the You Bet series from many years ago. If anyone remembers that? That's where people have to do something really quite clever with remembering things that you wouldn't expect them to remember. Anyway, the fun fact, at work, people send John pictures of wind turbines from their travels around the UK. And most of the time, he can not only tell them where they are, but the make and model of the said turbine, which is really sort of impressive, I think.
There is such thing as a wind geek.
Yes. Well, anyway, John, welcome to the show. We visited your facilities recently, of course, which is quite incredible. So please do tell us more.
Yeah, and first of all, if I introduce you to Arnold White Group, we're a family company based in Bedfordshire. Traditionally, the company goes back over 100 years in the area, quarrying, sand quarrying. And we've looked for ways and purposes to repurpose our land once the quarrying is over. So part of the company looks at property and looks at repurposing sites into new housing. And my part of the company looks at installing renewable energy projects. But as well as that, we've started joining the two together. So we're looking at how do we link a renewable energy project to an end user. And that's where our site at Checkley Wood, that's how our site at Checkley Wood was born. So back in, I'd say 2016, that's when the project was first conceived. We decided to put in a planning application to build a sister to our existing wind turbine in the area, a larger, more powerful sister that would produce more renewable power for the local area. That project progressed through an onshore wind ban. So we were challenged quite substantially in how can you get consent for a new onshore wind turbine during such a difficult political environment. But we managed to get the project through, and by we had consent, we started thinking, well, what can we do to link that to the end user? We see it as a very important thing that when somebody is consuming power, they can see exactly where it comes from. So we started putting together plans for an EV charging station and plans to directly wire our wind turbine to that charging station. So if I share, I don't know if sharing will work, but hopefully you can see this. It's not going to let me do it, I don't think. But we have
John, if you click the green icon at the bottom of the screen.
Right, it's telling me I have to quit Zoom and restart. So hang on, we may have it now. There we go.
Hopefully
there we go.
There it is.
So there's our station at Checkley Wood. We've at the moment we have on site the large turbine you can see in the foreground. That's our new 4.1 megawatt machine. So she's capable of generating 10 million kilowatt hours a year with the wind speeds that we have in that location. So to put that into context, that is 2,800 homes. Or if you were to equate that to an EV charge, if the turbine was capable of only charging EVs, that would be 225,000 chargers in a single year that the turbine could potentially do. So it's a lot of power, and we've been looking very carefully at how we link the two together. So by the end of the year, because of grid constraints, we'll have a direct wire in place. And that will ensure that we can actually, when somebody plugs their car in, they can see exactly where the power is coming from. So we have 14 Kempower units on there, and we've been working very closely with Vital EV Solutions to work out how we can link the turbine through the Kempower management system so that we can manage loads across the site. That's been the biggest challenge for us to date, so that we can make sure that we can get the power to the end user. But as well as that, we've added a commercial area as well. So we have at the back of the site a commercial area that is dedicated to commercial vehicles. We were delighted to see the new Mercedes truck plugged in during the EV rally, and it was fantastic to see. So we are reconfiguring that area to make sure that we can take a truck of that scale with 42 tons on the back, which was an incredible thing to do. But we would love to see commercial vehicles on the roads that have been directly powered by wind. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell with the scheme. But any questions, please do ask.
John, I've got a question. You mentioned that the wind turbine has a gender. You said it's a she. Presumably she has a name.
Well, our comms director Rachel has given her the name Willow, so as in wind in the willows. So that's her name.
So just a vacuous question, no depth at all. That's me all over. Oh dear, that's superb. And when we were there with the EV Rally, what struck me was that this kind of installation and business is so necessary to help people see that straight line of sight from, Sam calls it sun to wheel or wind to wheel, where you have renewable energy generation to battery storage to vehicles, free transport fuel and energy for other things, other applications. It's just brilliant.
It also allows us as we move forward to be a bit more reactive, especially when it comes to things like pricing. When say for example we're predicting Hurricane Kirby coming through next winter, it would be fantastic to be able to say we've got this hurricane.
It won't arrive winter if it's Hurricane Kirby. It'll probably be summer the next year.
It'll be about 10 minutes late. Yeah.
But it'd be great.
It'll be late.
Great when that happens. Yeah, to be able to say, well, this week we're reducing our prices because we've got the gale flowing through the site. So we want to be more reactive, and we're looking at means and ways to be able to work on that moving forwards. But it's as a first step. Directly wiring the turbine to the charging station has been enough, but we're getting there.
I love this. We've got people saying that you should give them funny names. It should be a competition. So Council Gritters in Scotland, we have Gritter Thunberg, we have
yeah.
And so we they all have names, and we follow them, we track them around Scotland. Wouldn't that be brilliant for turbines?
It would be. It would be.
What would you suggest? Let's go. Hurricane Kirby is still a winner. Perhaps we can have a turbine named after Paul.
Well, I was just thinking a Kirby wind turbine with lots of wind around it seems to be quite fitting. But
well, there is a Kirby Moor in Cumbria, so you're nearly there.
And of course, you know that, John.
Dev Chakravarti says Turby McTurby.
Oh, dearie me.
Well, guys, I'm really wanting to know more about this setup, and John, I really want to learn more, but perhaps we don't have time now. But offline would be great.
Well, I've just put a link in our chat, the Zoom chat, for a post I did which when I met John, he shared some really cool facts with me. When I went to AW Energy the week before the rally, or a couple of weeks before the rally, and I'm going to put that in LinkedIn as well now, so that people can check that out, because the guys give a very good account of themselves, and we get some nice visuals, not on a rainy day, which was nice.
Yes, makes a change.
Thank you, John. We've got a few questions in the chat box or the Q&A tab. Should we start working our way through them?
Yeah, let's get Gareth back.
Yeah.
And the legend that is Sarah Sloman, if she's available.
I'm also here. I don't know if you can see me on my locked screen.
We have your locked screen, so we have a still image of you, Sarah, which is
that's
wonderful.
Better than nothing. I've just been moved, that's all.
Complete with working collarbone. There are two questions which are broadly similar, one from Ian Thompson and one from Robin Hughes in Hong Kong. Where is innovation more needed at this time in the evolution of the EV market? The vehicles, the charging infrastructure, the customer experience, regulation, something else? John, what do you think?
I would say for me, Checkleywood is the first time we've operated as a charge point operator, so the learning curve has been huge. For me, the customer experience has to be the critical thing that we need to focus on. And as Sarah said at the beginning of the podcast, it should be possible for really, when you pay, you don't need to think. You need to plug your car in, and you need to know that you're being charged. It shouldn't be complicated. And we see confusion on a daily basis. What order do I plug it in? How many times? Oh, I've tapped it 3 times. I've got issues around my pre-authorization charges now. It's all about making the consumer experience as simple as possible. But certainly for me as well, it's being transparent, and knowing where your power is coming from is a very, very important aspect. And knowing that you are contributing, your EV is contributing to decarbonisation is very important.
Absolutely right. It avoids all the greenwash. It's absolute fact. This comes from renewable sources, straight to vehicle. Fabulous. Gareth, in terms of your area of expertise, where's innovation coming from next?
I mean, I'll touch on with what John's just touched. You know, I think the consumer experience, understanding what and why, what we're doing, what I mean, I'm an adopter I've been an EV driver in the last 6 months myself. So, you know, I've had a fantastic experience, but products for, you know, I think it has to be how we continue to do what we do with the products. We have to make ourselves be better, be more sustainable, produce them in much more efficient ways, whether that's through digitization, automation, just streamlining the process as much as possible, and you know, giving a full life cycle to the products that we offer. And it is very hard with what we do because we're making a big giant sandwich. So we're taking products, we're putting inks on top of that, we're putting potential laminates on top of that. So to break them apart and be left with a valuable product that can be reused or repurposed has been really difficult for the industry to get over. But I think over the last few years, individuals have gone off, whether that be it groups or businesses, and tried to do their best, but it needs adoption from you know, a wider group, and it's got to be for the greater good rather than potentially commercial gain. Of course, we all have to make money and have to have profitable businesses to be successful, but there has to be a greater good. But yeah, and for me, on a personal level, there's just a massive lack of education, and that's where the greenwashing sometimes isn't intentional greenwashing. It's coming from people just not having the education to understand it.
And that's why the Car Fest that we mentioned earlier, 100,000 people, 3 days, that's really important, because that's our opportunity, Paul, isn't it? To go out to a new market and say, look, this innovation that both John and Gareth are talking about is readily available today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the point that we're making here is that we need to keep saying the same thing for a lot longer. We're all keen to move away from saying the same thing. And I understand why, because we need to be saying something new. But there is a vast majority of people out there that have never heard it the first time round, so let alone the second. And it says you need to hear something 14 times before it begins to sink in and you begin to remember it. So it's super important to get every opportunity to get that message out. And over 3 days, we're going to be doing a lot of face-to-face contact with our exhibitors and the people that are coming through the tent, but also talking sessions. So people can come, sit, listen, ask questions, go and talk about it, come back, you know, over those 2 or 3 days. It's going to be a really brilliant event and really pivotal in getting to a new market and communicating some of this wonderful innovation that is coming to the market. I love what John and AW Energy are doing. I love what Gareth is doing in terms of reducing the amount of PVC and giving new messaging to the market. It's so important, and we get to get that message out, and it's a privilege.
Sam,
I wanted to just thanks for that, Paul. I totally agree with you. Actually, I think I just wanted to add a little. Yeah, I know. I wanted to add just a little anecdote actually from the rally, because John mentioned it. I have the privilege of seeing quite a lot of the charging sessions that happened during the rally, because a lot of them were done at GridServe locations, and there's one that was performed by a certain truck that John mentioned that went to his site as well. And just and the reason I'm mentioning this particular one is because this is innovation in the real world, right? So that truck, on what charged many times, but on this particular occasion was charged with 46 minutes. It consumed 159 kilowatt hours of energy, an average power of 343 kilowatts average. Wow. So that just goes to show where we're going and where we're going in terms of technology, because an average speed, and that's pretty much maxing out our charger, which has never been done before, because there's nothing capable of doing that on the market apart from that vehicle. That just goes to show that already we've got things in the real world transactions, real innovation, showing the beginnings of the capability of energy being distributed from the chargers back into the vehicles. So there's an awful lot of work to do to make sure that we keep up with that speed of transition.
And that's what I love about what Sam just said there. It's the beginnings, right? We are just at the start. And that's the bit that we've got to remember. We've had 100 years to do ICE engines, right? That's why we've got V8s and V12s and turbo this and 100 0 to 100 in that and all of that cool stuff. We have done so much in such a short space of time. And the innovation is only going to get faster. And that's the incredible bit.
Some of the things that we haven't yet nailed down are more simple stuff. And David Rosselli, and I guess this is for Sam actually. David Rosselli asks, how close are we to the charge point, recognizing both the vehicle and the driver and auto billing seamlessly? And you talked about it being such a complex operation. Give us a sense of how quickly we might get there, if we're going to get there at all.
We're already there. So I don't think we'll ever get to a position where we necessarily recognize the driver because of various GDPR reasons why that's problematic. We might recognize a driver ID or something of that nature, but the real technology is in the vehicle becoming the wallet, and that is one whereby the vehicle is the thing that determines the transaction that occurs thereafter. So in my answer initially was it's already there, is the things like auto charge that already exist, where you can plug a vehicle in. And it recognizes the MAC address of the vehicle and then can proceed in the transaction based on that level of understanding without needing to swipe a card or do anything at all. That's a slightly legacy-driven technology because MAC addresses now change in cars, and therefore the ability for that to be a constant is more tricky. But plug and charge is the next development of the ISO standards, which will create the same methodology, albeit through a more digital certification type process. But that will be the future. It's already demonstrated, if you like, in the Tesla world. It's not plug and charge as a system, but it's the similar principle, mainly because it's their chargers and their vehicles. Therefore, they know what's going on, and just you plug in and don't do anything else. So it all sorts it out in the background. And that's absolutely and ultimately where we'll get to in the shorter term. It's just plugging a vehicle in. The charger knows the vehicle, it knows the account, it knows who to bill, and it just happens. So I think it'll be more vehicle recognition and process thereof, as opposed to driver recognition. I think that's fair. That probably won't happen because it's too personal.
Yeah, if you want to find out more, it's ISO 15118. Thanks, Paul Barnfather, for that plug and charge. Gareth, brilliant question from Ian Thompson, which might actually win the mug, I think. Electrochromatic paint jobs like the Renault E-Tech T 10,000 kilometer Euro Promo EHGV. Is it a marketing gimmick, a useful promotional tool, or borderline illegal if used whilst driving? I don't even know what that is. Can you help me to understand that?
Well, I mean, ultimately, people are looking to turn vehicles into moving billboards, aren't they? That's the idea. Yes, I mean, it's out there more for static use at the moment. I don't know the legalities of whether that will ever, something moving on a vehicle as we're driving and aiding as a distraction, whether that ever could be something. But then I suppose it could be classed as a static image for the specific journey it's on, maybe. So look, it's a bit like I said earlier, there is a need for all of this to move forward, whether it's digital print, whether it's through electronic displays. There is a need. People need to advertise for their businesses to be successful. So we've just got to keep pushing and driving for that to be sustainable, whichever way we go with it. So
I remember the
incremental changes and just keep pushing things to go in the right direction. That's all we can do, and what will be in the end, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the FA, I remember them saying that they wouldn't have moving sign billboards at football matches. It was a trial, but it was never going to happen. And now it's standard in pretty much every championship around the world. So yeah, who knows? Who knows what will come? But Ian Thompson, you're the winner in a mug today. But John, Gary Comerford says, one thing I see on social media about wind turbines is something along the lines of every wind turbine uses thousands of litres of fossil fuel oil, yada, yada, yada. That's not environmentally friendly. How accurate is this? How would you respond to that kind of nonsense?
Well, our turbine is a direct drive turbine, so there is no gearbox. So it is a direct DC generator. So there are no sort of oil tanks or anything like that associated with it. When it comes to the amount of energy that it takes to develop, build, construct, and operate a wind turbine, that amount of energy is offset within the first 6 months of operation. So it is an extremely clean form of energy, and that's a myth that has followed us as an industry for quite some time.
Yeah, good. Thank you for killing that one. Stone dead.
Thank
Ian
you.
Thompson's got another brilliant question, if I may, just before we finish. And maybe this is one I pose just to go away and think about. Is innovation in need of innovation? Yeah, there's a thought.
Well, I think his question was: is the pace of innovation in
It
need
is.
of innovation?
And that's called poetic license. Thank you, Paul.
But I think,
Get
for
out
me,
of my
I thought
inbox.
that was the important bit for me, was that because we do seem to have a number of blocks to innovation. I mean, John's planning journey has been atrocious, in terms of getting from the planning to the execution, all held up because of blocks in planning and different stuff. What can we do to speed the process of innovation, to lift the blocks, to push away the barriers so that we can execute on the great ideas around sun to wheel, on wind to wheel, and wind power to horsepower? There we go, or that sort of stuff. I think that was you, John. All of this stuff needs to have facilitation, and Innovate UK and others could really help support that by sweeping away some of the barriers.
Paul, I think you've just come up with the topic of a future webinar for us. There we go.
Okay, good.
It was worth you coming, mate. Well done. Good effort.
6 minutes late, but just still valuable. Good.
Added something valuable, even at 1 o'clock. It was about wrap up. So that's all we have time for, everybody. A big thanks to Gareth, John, Sarah for their insights today, and of course Paul for actually turning up. Make sure. Sorry, I can't resist. Make sure to join our LinkedIn channel and subscribe so you never miss out on future events. Also, please check out our YouTube, TikTok, Instagram channels if you haven't already had enough of us. Don't forget, we've got news on Fridays, and watch out for the latest podcasts. And finally, just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. That's a bye from me and bye from the EV Cafe team.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.
Hope Sarah's all right.